And hello everybody, hello. So we're starting this out first with the guys from Mythicist Milwaukee. We've got Sean and Brian. Thank you guys, appreciate you guys joining me.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Absolutely. I know Bunty, his project that he was doing earlier ran a little bit long. A couple of other people. I sprung this on everybody at the last damn minute, so I apologize for that. But yeah, no, I dig it. I am having a dilemma, a huge dilemma, and it's a dilemma that involves a core belief inside of myself that I feel shaking, and I'm uncomfortable with it. And so I kind of need some help to get some context in this, because we were just at Kilroy, which was a free speech event, regardless of what people may feel about that event. But the whole notion of it, the core values of it, was free speech, and it's something that I feel very passionate about as well. I mean, friends with Count Dankula. He just had to go through a groundbreaking uh, landmark case defending his right to freedom of speech, which unfortunately he was convicted for.
Mm-hmm.
So to frame this the best I can, I have this video, and you guys have that My Circle link, right?
No, but it's okay.
Okay.
Are we supposed to have? Are we supposed to be watching?
You can just play it for the audience. That's
Okay. All right. And I'll just kind of I'll just kind of say what is basically being said in it. There we go. So this is the problem. This is Larry Cook, and Larry Cook is the owner of Stop Mandatory Vaccination, a Facebook page with over 115,000 fans. So
is happening way too much. And that's what inspired the idea to raise money to run paid Facebook boosts, and I'm going to explain that in a second, of these stories so that we can reach parents with this information over and over and over again.
So what he's saying is this is a video for a fundraiser, GoFundMe, where he wants to collect money so that he can use targeted Facebook ads to send the stories and pictures of these very small children who were vaccinated and they believe were killed because of these vaccines, and he wants to use targeted advertisement. There's a little bit more.
So let me explain a paid Facebook boost. I have a Stop Mandatory Vaccination page. Anyone who has a page, a Facebook page, can sign up, get an ad account, and anything that they post, most anything, you can do what's called a boost. And that means that Facebook will deliver that particular story, whether it's an image or a hyperlink or whatever it is, to a targeted audience. Now, Facebook, just like in TV advertising or anywhere else, has the ability to target an audience. I oftentimes, when I do this, and I've done it a lot, in fact, I've given Facebook over $25,000 in the last 2.5 years doing exactly this. I often run a paid Facebook boost.
the video's playing.
Targeting both those who follow me on the Stop Mandatory Vaccination page, that's about 115,000 likes, and their friends, because usually friends associate with each other. And so when I run that kind of paid boost, I pull in more people into this fold, into the fight against mandatory vaccination.
So what he just said is really important. The whole idea that if he's targeting specific people, targeting parents, then also the friends of those parents, he uses these words, he brings them into the fold. So one of the problems that I have with this right off the bat, I mean, obviously I have a problem with anti-vaxxers and anti-vax propaganda, especially with the growing problems of measles outbreaks. We have a whooping cough outbreak, for fuck's sake, in this city right now. But this is being, completely blatant and forthright that he wants to specifically target and use emotional manipulation and full-on propaganda to show a bunch of dead kids to parents. Now, on the surface level, like me as a free speech advocate, I have no problem with somebody being an anti-vaxxer and expressing themselves in that manner because it's their right, and it should be their right. But here's where I'm starting to get really conflicted, and this is where I feel my absolutist standards being shaken to the core. I do not possess an army of pro-vaxxers to fund my own campaign, to fight his campaign. Instead, the power that I potentially have to wield is to enact social pressure on Facebook to deny their requests to run these ads. And I'm tempted. And that gets to this conflict inside of me.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying. But do you feel the same pressure to, I don't know, like it would stop maybe a Jehovah's Witness Facebook ad or something?
And
You know, I mean,
Scientology, like, yeah.
well, yeah,
Scientology
but I mean,
uses the same
some will
tactics.
refuse blood transfusions.
Yeah.
Others, I mean, like I've been in places, that you've got an OR and it's hundreds of thousands, $1 million equipment, and then they're saying, well, make sure we don't have any blood products in
Correct.
here because they're, a religious objection. And well, that seems awfully silly, but
It
the
does.
same way, they're still going to be able to say, look, we believe that the Bible says that we shouldn't have blood transfusion, so therefore we shouldn't. This is bad for you. And that's not very good medicine. This anti-vaxxer stuff isn't good medicine, but I don't know. I don't know if it's going to catch on that much. I've seen parents at the Children's Hospital. They listen to the doctors. This guy will get some pickup, but I can't imagine he's going to get a ton.
Right. And I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so. It's a lot of it is because I find I'm very frustrated. I'm coming off of a little bit of success with my fight against pseudoscience. I was working on exposing this this shit cult, a literal shit cult. And she's now being investigated by the attorney generals for malicious practices. So I feel very strongly about that. I'm like, yes, awesome, okay. My ideas are exposing bad ideas. I'm using my speech, she's using hers, and hers actually violates the principles of the law, and I can consider that a win because I shined a big flashlight on something and allowed for the consequences to fall as they may. Now, the problem with anti-vaxxers, though, is that they're massive. They're massive. They are a huge, incredibly powerful machine. They have politicians that buy wholesale into this. But then again, your analogy is very good too. With if it came to religious pressures, I mean, most of the American government is in some way attached to religion. So
right. No,
Or
like
it's
your
influenced by
your average
Yeah.
mainstream Protestant's not going to, and Catholic isn't going to make like the decision that like a very fundamentalist Jehovah's Witness would, or
right.
or I don't, if you're a fundamentalist Muslim and you would refuse like a porcine graft
Yeah.
or something, right? I mean,
Okay.
you get this, but I think that these people might run into trouble. It's one thing to say, don't take this, right? Don't do something. But if they say do something else, and they're saying, well, what do you do? Well, then they're suggesting some kind of substance. Once they start making claims on other things, you can run afoul of the law of like false advertising, especially in medical. You can.
Sure.
So it may not be like the anti, but whatever eventually they're pro, that could hurt them.
I think one of the interesting parts about it too. I mean, this is just a little analogy on this, or not analogy. It's just a little side point to this too. I was at one point contacted by an intermediary with the mother of one of the children whose story this guy is wanting to blast to millions of people on Facebook, and apparently she's livid that he's weaponizing her tragedy. So I hope she honestly pursues some legal recourse against that. Because I find that hideous.
Yeah, especially the Maya. I don't know what the legal laws are, but yeah, there might be some libel cases against him there. But I think this is one of the downsides. Like free speech isn't always a good thing. I mean, there's ugly consequences to the free speech, and anything that's good, that's bad. That's the consequence of a free, open society. You're gonna get this.
Well, and also too, I think my whole position on these platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of these platforms, is they should keep these platforms open. They should allow, someone in this case is crazy to do this, because if they don't, the problem is what happens is now it's a Streisand effect, If Facebook starts shutting them down, if Twitter starts shutting them down, if YouTube starts shutting them down, now they create these campaigns of, oh, look, they're silencing us. What we're saying must be true. The powers that be don't want to give us any credence. They want us to shut up because they know what we're saying is true. So it creates that weird, like Streisand effect of now their ideas become more popular because people are shutting them down. And you've seen a lot. I mean, how many careers have you seen being built out of this?
Copious amounts. Persecution is one of the strongest currencies in the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, you brought up Count Dankula, perfect example. Real quick, Jeff, I just want to tell you, Bunty asked if you can email him the link.
Yes,
sorry,
I don't know if I have his email though.
Yeah,
Maybe
let me
I
I'll
do.
get it to you. But yeah, I mean, Count Dankula is a perfect example. Somebody that because he was being shut down, became one of the most influential and impactful people in the comedy world. And so that's why, again, I really think it's really important to keep these things open, because
Yeah.
we
I
create
would
that
think, yeah, the
Streisand
remedy
effect.
isn't going to be Facebook. There are things like the False Claims Act, like medical device are under a ton of pressure to make sure that they're not making claims that you can't make. So every piece of literature, every television ad you ever see on a drug or a device has gone through an enormous amount of like of lawyering and marketing to make sure that that's absolutely legal. They
Right.
could eventually run afoul of possibly giving medical advice and saying don't, like they might. I mean, you would really have to be a lawyer to understand, but I gotta wonder if they're gonna run into like those kind of remedies, and that's good. I mean, you shouldn't be practicing medicine without a license. If they go down for that, that's something.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So all right. There's two ways that I can arguing this whole point. There's two ways that I can go against it. There's when you get into things like a dangerous practice, like take for instance, there's Miracle Mineral Supplement, where people have bought into the idea that the way to cure autism, severely autistic children, is to squirt bleach up their assholes. Obviously, that is it is a real thing. It is a real thing. There is a lot of people who do it too. That is obviously a case of actual child endangerment, and you can legitimately look at that, and you can see that, and you can say that's wrong, that's illegal, let's prosecute that person. The problem with anti-vax is that it starts out as an insidious little idea, and again, this gets into the things that are really shaking me to my core. This is why I need to talk about this, why I need to bounce this off people, is with anti-vaxxers, they start to infect the narrative. They start to cast doubt. They start to emotionally play on people. Anti-vaxxers have an incredible propaganda presence with how they operate, and they have one of the best resources for any kind of social change on the internet, and that's mommy bloggers. The entire mommy blogger sphere is rife for the picking for anti-vaxxers. And so where the bleach up an autistic kid's asshole is like, you can see an immediate effect on this. This instead just takes root, and it doesn't show right away. And as it continues to grow more and more and more and more, then the what it turns into is not just necessarily a problem. Oh, there's a Bunty. The problem turns into not just a direct harm that we can visibly see and we can point at and we can write an article about it. It becomes an actual public health crisis.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, man?
How's it going, man?
Maybe that's what things like that would have to get to a high level before any action could be taken. And the other thing, the anti-vaxxers do have this. They're saying don't do this. The bleachers, if that's what we're calling them, are saying do.
Bleachers.
That it's there's a difference.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer. Unfortunately, I mean, again, it's a kind of a shitty thing to say, but I mean, Darwin, like survival of the fittest, and unfortunately, yeah, you're always gonna have dummies. You will, and they, some of the dummies can be very influential and get people to follow them, and do what they say. But over time, I think over time you have to let them keep saying what they're saying, because eventually someone like you is going to come along and take them to task and go on and take challenge whatever on, even on a mainstream media source like you've done in the past. I mean, you have to let them keep talking, because again, if it's just like underground, we're being silenced, people, I think there's a weird like personality trait that people like to go against the grain, almost the the nihilist, is that am I using a term, the people that want to support something because it's like, oh, the establishment is against it, so
Transgressive.
yeah, and you make it cool, I guess, is oh, people are saying not to do that, well, now I want to do that, and so I think you have to shine the light on it.
I mean, but take this for an example. What about end of life? Right? There's somebody in the ICU, they're on ventilator. Like, do you pull the plug? Do you keep them on life support? I mean, you can say, well, doing that's going to kill them. But what's the quality of your life you know, you have all of these. Like, you could have one person that's saying, well, I think their quality of life would be okay. Like, this is horrible. Terry Schiavo comes to mind, right? Now, Terry Schiavo is absolutely brain dead. I mean, I saw her scans. That there's nothing there. But there are some people insisted that she had a quality of life. Like, who's to, you know, that one's tough, you know, especially when you look at it that way. So I think anti-vaxxers, I really do think the medical community is the one that's got to combat it. And I think that social influencers can help the medical community do that. But I think they've got to go down on the crappiness of their argument.
There was another quality of life, end of life brain dead case recently with a child, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there? It's a whole thing in the UK.
No, I'm not sure like specifically, but I'm sure there was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was. Like, the UK government didn't want them to take their child to like another doctor because they effectively were completely brain dead. And I see where you're coming from.
Like, that's the thing. She didn't have purposeful movements. This is my problem with The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you watch The Walking Dead, they explain it. Oh, it's deep in the base of your brainstem and so on and so forth. It keeps the life force going. But things like purposeful movement, like I'm going to bite you, requires a ton of your frontal lobe.
Yeah, there's
like,
a lot of problems.
There's a ton of like.
Also, too, why don't their teeth ever fall out? You know, because eventually their teeth will fall out. But that's a whole.
But still, my problem is the brain. Like, they don't get it right. And the question was, is Terry Schiavo making purposeful movements? And the answer was no.
Well, and someone that even is even more maddening to me is someone like Gwyneth Paltrow, who is a A-list celebrity, huge influence, huge, you know, budget and anything she can do. I mean, she's loaded, and she's selling this, you know, these creams and all this product that's, you know, it's complete BS. And it's funny, like, I actually saw a comparison of the products that she's selling and the products that Alex Jones is selling. And it was funny because they actually did the study, and it looks like all the manufacturers are doing is changing the labels. So like for Alex Jones, it's you know, meat power,
Patriot powder,
and then like in Gwyneth Paltrow's case, it's like beauty powder. You know, like, so it's like the same like BS product, but it's just
private label.
It's labeled differently, which is like a really funny study. But again, someone like Alex Jones or even Gwyneth Paltrow, who has all the influence in the world, and they're selling the people this shit and it's not cheap. You know, this stuff is extremely expensive, and essentially they're placebos. And I don't know if they're doing harm, but
they might be like vitamins. I don't know what they are.
Well, some are vitamins, some are creams, some are, you know, things like that. You know, who knows? We don't have enough scientific data to say if they're going to harm people over time or not. But you know,
we do in some of them.
But that's that's regulated though. You can't make claims. Well, you can't make claims. You can't say, look, I've got this tube and special sauce in it, and it's going to cure cancer.
But again,
yes, you can. Yes,
exactly. There's workarounds in that lingo. There are workarounds in that.
There's workarounds in the lingo, but there's laws that if you're specifically making the false claim, like these people take a lot of pains to get around it because they don't want to run afoul.
Yeah, well, it's just like the medicine you can buy over the counter that supposedly has certain things in it. It's like the James Randi thing where he eats a whole bottle of sleeping pills, the whatever you want to call them, the holistic sleeping pills, and eat the whole bottle of them, and they do.
But yeah, but if Tums put this cures cancer on the thing of Tums, they would get sued. I mean, the federal government would go after them.
Yes, but they don't make statements like that. It's more, the statements are very, you know, legally crafted to where it's this may show this, you may see this, you may, you know.
But still,
the loophole is supplements. That's the main loophole.
Right.
Bunty, you focus a lot on marketing usually and whatnot. You've seen some of the marketing effects of things like supplements and powders and vitamins and shit, right?
Yeah. Well, sorry, can you repeat the question one more time? Because I it was a little loud in the other room and I couldn't hear you.
Oh, no worries. So you've seen some of the marketing and how they push things like supplements or vitamins. It can even get into like health powders and shakes and shit like that.
Yeah.
You've seen how that kind of marketing
works. To a degree. I mean, yeah, to a degree. Well, I can imagine how it works.
Right. The main way in which they manage to pull these things off is largely because of very carefully crafted language, which is marketing 101. You know, like Dr. Oz, he comes out and he says, this may be the magical cure-all way to end your fat burning.
Right.
But Dr. Oz is actually a doctor, though, so he's going to have a lot more leeway.
That makes it worse. That makes it worse.
Yeah, yeah. Though he got a lot. I mean, he got a lot of flack for that, didn't he?
He did. He got summoned before the Senate.
That's insane, man.
But
That's crazy.
but they didn't
But
prosecute
doctors
him.
are given a lot of latitude, and like we sort of need to, because that same latitude is afforded in hospitals for, like, you know, the care of everyday people. I mean, you don't use like doctors.
What was
Right.
sorry, what was the, like, what did so that's, you just want, like, what was the question though again?
Well, the question I had for you is how hard is it really to be able to bypass, like, very specific way, like bypass things that could otherwise get you in trouble, just using the right kind of marketing language in which you can sneak past. I guess
not even, you can go beyond language, man. You could, like, get into kids' cartoons and shit, man.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff, man.
The
You can
original
just go,
question was, like, should Facebook limit the anti-vaxxer?
Well, let me just,
campaign.
for the audience and for you guys, let me just read this off. So I have this from Berkeley. So there are a few exceptions, and just take supplements. Just take supplements. So with only a few exceptions, they cannot assert that the supplements treat or cure disease. They may make only structure / function or health maintenance claims. Here are some examples. A label can say helps improve your mood, but can't say reduces depression. It can say maintains a healthy circulatory system, but not prevents cardiovascular disease. It can say maintains cholesterol in a healthy range, but it cannot say lowers cholesterol. It can say supports the immune system, but cannot say helps prevent colds and flu. So there are all these workarounds in lingo, you know, on these things. That's where people fall for this trap. And, you know, like the Gwyneth Paltrow's of the world, like they know, their legal team knows what they can and can't say. And it's unfortunate, and it's, you know, it sucks.
Yeah, but they're limited. I mean, the fact that they are limited.
Yes, but when a regular person sees maintains cholesterol in a healthy range, they're going to automatically assume lowers cholesterol.
Yeah,
I don't. I definitely don't.
I know you don't, but you know, you're.
yeah, well, you're not, but you're not a, come on, you're not a normal person.
Right, I suppose, but it's still there is a big difference between saying lowers cholesterol. I guess I see it a little bit, but I'm sure there's going to be gray areas though if you limit these people. I mean, like, what if you said loaded with antioxidants, which are shown to have health benefits in actual real study?
Right.
Mhm.
So then ergo, maybe our product helps. And I think, you know, but how can you can't falsify that.
Here's a great way you could do it. I've seen this done several times with cancer cures. They'll include inside their mix a little bit of vitamin C. Certain studies have shown, a few, that vitamin C has anti-cancer properties, and you can market that as a cancer cure or you can market it as a preventative integrative medical supplement that will aid you in potentially reducing your risk of cancer. Now, some bored housewife in Kansas who's watching her mom die of cancer, she sees that in daytime television, and it's coming from a guy with the name Dr.
Oz, right?
Right. And keep in mind, you can call yourself a doctor if you went and attended a 6-month chiropractic class. You technically can call yourself a doctor, and nobody can tell you aren't anymore.
But you could be a Reader's Digest that would, like, say, well, an apple a day and a Donna Reed episode a day, like, cured my, you know, like, got it. This person, like, survived, so maybe, you know, the people reading Reader's Digest, well, maybe I should try that.
Well, how many people think Dr. Phil's a doctor?
Well, he's got he's not I think he only has a master's in psychology, or did he get his PhD?
He may have since, but I know forever he wasn't. So I'd have to look that one up, but I could have sworn.
But people have to be free to try the supplements.
Sure. I support that wholeheartedly, and I even support to a degree, I support them being able to have this loophole until the law changes and we stop having this deregulated supplement shit going on, which is a real fucking problem. The most blatant example of politicians actually being bought by a special interest group and corporations was with the 2 senators that deregulated supplements. It's historically the most outwardly obvious and blatant example of government corruption by a special interest corporate group. So until we either decide that we're going to change that and supplements have to be regulated just like we do regular medicine, or even food, because they're deregulated, they have less regulations on supplements than they do food.
That's going to jack up the cost in a huge way, though. Like, if, for example, like in ophthalmology, right, you can have eye drops that cure pain, and then you're going to have eye drops that dilate the eye. But like major medical device companies like Allergan and Alcon, these are giants in like the eye industry. Like, they will not. There's doctors that really want those in one bottle. The cost to
Right.
bring that to market, and this is a total generic,
Mhm.
is astronomical. So, and then so be careful when you're asking for more regulation. You may get
regulation,
something,
yeah.
like
Well, and that's why China's been outperforming us in manufacturing, you know, since, you know, for decades, because
Undoubtedly.
yeah, the US, I mean, I understand there's the company and then there's the people with regulations, and you definitely need to find a balance, but there is definitely the case where you can be overregulated, but there's also the case where you can be underregulated, and you just have to make sure you
Yeah,
have that balance.
exactly.
Mhm.
You know,
It's kind of like one of the problems with it is it's a double standard, you know, and it's routinely abused. So I don't really know. And the thing is, my official position on the supplements issue and its regulation is, I don't think it should have ever been deregulated to begin with. It was a manufactured concern because people were, they even had commercials back when this was happening with Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson, like, trying to lobby that we have to deregulate this. Why can't people just take their vitamin C in peace? Like, what the fuck? Bizarre shit. And vitamins before were never a problem. You could still buy vitamins over the counter, no problem.
But what about like the lemonade stand, right? Like, technically you're not allowed to do that because now you would need a license. So, the 7-year-old can't do that anymore. So, and I guess sometimes you gotta understand the curse of regulation always makes me cringe. So
Agreed.
I'm not saying that it's something couldn't be written right. I was just worried that it won't be.
well, let me ask you this, Jeff.
Yeah.
So here's another dilemma for you. So with the creation of I'm forgetting I can't think of the drug. What did Breaking Bad, what was he selling?
Matt.
Yeah, meth. So with meth, so like in Wisconsin, I don't know if this is like this around the nation, but in Wisconsin, they've limited people when they go to a drugstore from buying certain medicines, like, was it NyQuil is one of them, right? And certain other
types of NyQuils, yeah.
yeah, so you can't like buy in mass quantities.
Ephedras,
Yeah, exactly, because they can make homemade meth. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, should we be doing that? Because that's over the counter. It's not illegal to buy all of those.
I think all drugs should be legal but controlled and taxed.
Okay.
All of them.
So who controls?
Except for Datura. Nobody ever needs to do Datura. That's a stupid drug. Stupid drug. Look it up sometime. But who gets to control them? That's honestly a tough one. I do believe in people's ability. I believe in people's right to choose whether or not they're going to hurt and destroy themselves. Which is why this anti-vax thing is messing me up so much, because my issue isn't with people just choosing, like, I'm not gonna get vaccinated. No, fuck it. Don't get vaccinated. I don't give a fuck. Don't vaccinate yourself. Fine. Good. Cool.
Yeah.
Your kid doesn't get to make that decision, and that's the problem. And that's why it becomes, and don't get me wrong, like, I will admit to you guys and everybody watching right now, I am emotionally compromised by this situation. I always have been. I cannot look at it objectively, which is why I need to talk to others about it. There is a very real inability for me to look at this completely removed, because it has become something that is so intensely important to me. What? Okay, so let's think about it like this. Let's think about it like this. So this campaign, why we're here and why this is becoming such an issue for me is this campaign is a publicly funded uh, dumping of money by this massive grouping of people who all believe in one very specific thing, to then use what I would classify as full-blown propaganda to emotionally sway people in a giant public space. Now, if there does not exist a counter to that, an ability to rally up enough pro-vax people to run campaigns against it, is emboldening the public in and of itself to express their displeasure about this in another way, does that constitute free speech?
No.
No, why not?
No, I mean, like, no isn't like, it doesn't fuck with free speech.
I wouldn't think so either. But then the problem comes to is them expressing their displeasure that they want this even on being broadcast by a private corporation. Does that then go against the nature of free speech?
People are allowed to call for a boycott, right?
Yeah. And I think that's it. If you want to petition, you can petition Facebook to be like, this is crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you petition Facebook, you can be like, all right, Facebook, this is crazy. And then you have to share that petition with other people and be like, can you guys please sign this petition so that Facebook sees that this is crazy? And so that's not like, because at the end of the day, Facebook will make the call.
Mm-hmm.
They'll make the call, right?
Probably get a
It doesn't
million.
come down to their petition. They're not going to see, oh, they're going to see your petition and be like, oh, fuck, you know what? We guess we really got to do it. Got a bunch of signatures. We really got to do it. No, they're going to wait it out still. It's just like, but it's a great way to get people kind of paying attention to it and be like, yo, this is a problem. And then people on Facebook would pay attention to it. And then most likely what would happen is they would supplement all of their ads with pro-vaccine content. And I can almost guarantee that. Almost guarantee that would be a response that they would do. They'd like be like, you're getting anti-vaccine ads. Here's some pro-vaccine videos.
I have an issue petitioning Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or whatever. Okay, so like we've come out of the atheist world, right? And in the US and pretty much throughout the world, the religious right or just religion in general has held so much power, and social media actually allowed us to challenge a lot of those narratives and invite them to the table to debate them and things like that. But the problem is, in the early things of Facebook, a lot of atheist channels were getting pegged. Atheist Republic constantly gets harassed all the time by extremist Muslim countries where they're just pissed off at Atheist Republic and their page, so they get mass flagged. And Atheist Republic has been taken down like 3, 4, 5 times.
Yep.
They have like
they get more than mass flagged in the Middle East, don't they?
Well, yeah, they have almost 2 million fans on their page. It's a giant page. So the issue that I have there is, employing those tactics then allows those to be used against you for those that don't agree with you. And that drives me crazy. I mean, last year with MythCon, we had all these people petitioning our venue to not invite certain people. Who the fuck are they to tell us who can and
I
can't?
understand how you can have that disagreement, but the thing is like that petition at the end of the day, what did it do? It got you in front of them, and then they asked you a question, and then you were like, no, and then they were like, okay,
Right.
what is all this then? And that was it. And that's exactly what Facebook will do if they were to get petitioned by something. You think Facebook's going to get? Do you think Facebook could be involved in the eradication of a small tribe somewhere? All right, and I can promise you right now that Facebook would still exist tomorrow because it is a need in the social system. That's pretty much it.
I agree, but I'm saying us as individuals should not be petitioning Facebook to take a stance on it one way or another. This should be played out in the public. We should have these debates. We should invite the anti-vaxxers to the table and say, okay, tell us what's your story. Why do you feel this way? Have an audience. It's kind of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The audience typically got the answer right when they polled the audience. So let the public decide. Once you start petitioning these private groups, now you're turning them into people that have to make decisions on something they shouldn't have to. And I just think they should have a free platform. It should allow the good ideas to rise to the top and allow these types of debates and discussions, because if they don't, you're going to create this weird echo chamber of people that are saying we're being silenced by the man, by Facebook. And I don't think Facebook should be in that position at all. I think, we should take them to task. We should do what Jeff is doing, challenge them, make the videos, bring them to the debate, have them sit down and have the conversation. And I think that's the better way of doing it. Get the public opinion one way or the other. And that, I think that,
But that's your personal ethic, right? You wouldn't
Yeah.
say that you shouldn't be able to petition Facebook, right?
I don't like it. I
You-
don't
right,
like
it's your
petitions.
personal, yeah, and that's
I
fine.
don't. Like I'll give you, for instance, in Scientology, what Scientology, they play the same games and they go after these ex-Scientologists. So they're constantly harassing them and, petitioning and, all these private platforms and essentially smearing these people. And they have the numbers to do that. They have the money to do that. I don't think we should be giving the power to these private platforms to destroy people just because
But
somebody
they are.
has numbers and
You know that there's
petition numbers and money.
Islamists everywhere that have said, like, to tell Facebook to take down everything on its page that has anything negatively to do with
And it
Allah
works
or
in some
home.
cases.
Yeah, but like I would say in most cases it doesn't, or else like I mean, fine, if you're a hardcore religious person like Christian, Muslim, whatever, you'd be like, well, I want everything that's not my religion taken down.
Yeah, but if you have the numbers, it works. In the case of Atheist Republic, it's happened time.
But I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work in the case of like a private corporation like Facebook, which would then have to determine, reference its, like, have to have its own moral inquiry and figure it out from there. And like I said, once again, probably just evolve into like showing people another like other content that's related to whatever's happening there.
Well, all I'm saying is when you get okay, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all these companies are in Silicon Valley. And as we all know, in California, the whole, extremist left narrative is running rampant. So, you get someone like a Sargon, you get someone like Bunty or someone that says something, wrong that they don't agree with, they can just shut you down. And I think that is I hate that. I can't say it just because today they think their ideology is the right one. They're going to utilize, and I understand they're a private company. I get that. But they should not have an ideological stance in it at all.
It's a bad ethic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing stopping Scientologists from advertising on Facebook, is there?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they have a lot of money. I would say that they have more money than anti-vaxxers.
Oh yeah, 3 billion.
Probably, yeah, oh yeah.
So at the end of the day, I don't really see how an anti-vaxxer campaign is going to really put that much of a dent into society as a whole when the mainstream media, for the most part, is very pro-vaxxing. And like pro-vaxxing isn't just like it's not
community, which I think
it's literally in the culture. Like it's in the culture. Like, yeah, Brian, you're in the medical community, right? Vaccinations are like, how many anti-vaxxers do you see in around?
None. Like, I mean,
Really?
you occasionally will get a patient that is, but I mean, none in is a serious medical provider. I haven't met one.
Yeah, no, it's because at the end of the day, man, like everybody gets vaccinated, and the most people get vaccinated. These other people who aren't getting vaccinated are like, that's
right.
like
it's
it's their choice. They are going to screen things up,
immunity.
but
some vaccines, it's not just individual. Like if 95% of the population isn't vaccinated, it doesn't work. Like 90% is not good enough.
Yeah.
So you might as well have 0%. So in some points, like, that's why, there's a lot of money.
well, I don't know. See, that's why I'm like, I'm not a pro. I don't know. I've never touched vaccination, so I just want to know. I'm fucking. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about here.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm just saying, like, in terms of numbers, like, I thought, like, it's like, but I didn't know that was that crazy. Like, 90% of the population, if it's that low, then
it depends. Yeah, it depends on the vaccine.
that's crazy, man.
I'll say this too, Bunty. Like, and I just want to be clear. I 100% respect Facebook and all the Silicon Valley companies to do whatever they want to do.
It's okay, Sean. They're not coming for you yet. They're not coming for you. Don't worry.
Well, they have in the past, but I think I honestly think it's their right, it's their company, but it truly, just even if you look at it from a business standpoint, it is really stupid for them to silence any voices because all you're doing is creating your competition. Like they kicked you off of Twitter, they kicked Sargon off of Twitter. At some point, Sargon was kicked off of YouTube. People have been kicked off of YouTube. All you're doing at that point, from a business standpoint, is you're creating your own competition. You're going to get another company that finds enough capital to create these types of platforms and start competing. And once you start kicking off their influencers, then they join the other side. Like, it's even from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense to infuse your ideology or whatever you think is the moral right into your decisions. Like, you really, it should just be an open platform for people, but I totally respect the fact that they can do whatever they want. It should, there's a lot of cons to doing. And Bunty, when you got kicked off of Twitter for that joke, that's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. It
Oh,
was
yeah,
a funny joke, I totally got it, but they used, I don't know if it was mass flagged or if they used their Twitter's whatever their moral compass is to kick you off and decide to kick you. That makes zero sense to me.
I'm convinced it was someone in a group chat somewhere, and there was like a bunch of verified YouTubers that did it.
Yeah, but Twitter at that point, though, like you said, had to review it and say, okay, yeah, you guys are right. And then all of a sudden, a couple of days later, they had that kicking down the stairs meme go fucking viral or whatever. That Twitter was promoting the who you're going to kick down the stairs, and it was the same thing that the same type of joke you made. But
Right.
now all of a sudden, that's good. Like, so that's where Twitter and these platforms, they shouldn't be weighing in, because they're going to screw over somebody for doing the same thing that they're rewarding other people
But it's an
for
ethic,
doing. And
right? I mean, like, sometimes doing the wrong thing will make you a ton of money, right? If there's one crowd that's like a huge audience that's saying, yeah, we want blood, get rid of them. Like, it could make a lot of sense monetarily, but I think this is where your ethic comes in. You don't do that. I mean, German corporations during like the Nazi era, Hitler kind of comes to him. This is Nazism. This is National Socialism. He says, all right, he colludes with the industry, and he says, all right, well, no more. You're gonna have to fire all your Jews. And a lot of the business owners were like, but the Jews are top accountants. These are, we need these people in our company or we can't do it. And he's like, well, they gotta go. But here's the upside: all these Jewish small businesses are going to be gone, and you're going to still follow my rules. And just think, you're going to gain so much more business because all these other businesses are going away because we're going to get rid of them, and your business stands to gain. And they went along with it.
Yeah,
and
well,
again, that's an ethic problem.
But that's the power that Facebook and YouTube and all that have, is they can get rid of competitors at the snap of their fingers if they wanted to.
But what always makes sense for the free market doesn't always make sense ethically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, okay. There's a couple of things I'd like to bring. I've just been absorbing, and I'm loving the conversation so far. Sure. There's a couple of things that I really want to touch on. I want to make sure I remember the second one, so I'm actually going to write it down really quick. 1 second.
Yeah, I've just been absorbing it too, by the way. I'm just listening. Like I said, I'm not very experienced in anti-vaxxing and vaccine.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't. It isn't necessarily like super important to be like really well versed in it, but there is some things to keep in mind, like the types of people that we're dealing with.
I'm just here to offer the moral.
Yeah, no, and that's what I need. That's where my dilemma is. This is an example of what these people do. I'm bringing up an article here. It's from the Daily Mail. It says, vile anti-vaccine trolls tell mother to set her son on fire in stream of online abuse after she posted about the importance of vaccines. I watched this whole thing happen. The page that we're talking about, the page of anti-vaxxers that I'm having an issue with, and I'm about to go head-to-head with in a very big way. He found this post by a mother. She has an immunocompromised son. He's been in hospitals more than he's been out of them his entire life. I believe he's 3. He's got a severe thyroid problem, and he gets sick super easily. He cannot be vaxxed. So she, in a moment of just frustration, she wrote a post about it. I think she's got maybe like 300 friends on Facebook. That's about it. Just onto her wall. It was public. But this is then shared to 115,000 people. And suddenly, she had a torrent, thousands and thousands of comments being thrown at her. People saying, set your son on fire. I don't want your disease-shedding piece of shit kid and his vaccines, thinking he was vaccinated, even though he wasn't, infecting my non-vaccinated perfect little fucking man. Like, this was insane. And this was intentionally shared by this guy, Stop Mandatory Vaccinations, Larry fucking Cook, using Facebook as his platform to be able to take a random mom who has to deal with a perpetually and constantly sick kid.
What's this guy's name? Larry what?
Larry Cook.
Larry Cook.
Yeah.
Larry Crook. More like Larry Cook. Is it about Larry? Is it Larry D. Cook?
It's Larry Cook. He's mostly
a passionate advocate for natural living.
Yeah. That's him.
Larry D. Cook, 51-year-old author and video producer.
So in the nature of free speech, I have to allow him to use his massive platform that he's built on fear and propaganda and lies and misdirection and abusing the system that flies in the face of scientific consensus. I have to allow him to do that because by the nature of free speech, that is his right to use a platform unless that platform decides to remove him. Now, here's where it gets kind of touchy, and it goes the same thing with him doing the ads. Now, the platform has every right to be able to kick him off the platform if they want to. Facebook could just shoot him off into the fucking sun, figuratively speaking, off the goddamn platform. If they wanted to, that's their right. But if I maintain an absolute, a free speech absolutist perspective, that is the thing that I hold true to my convictions. Like, I absolutely will not in any way influence that or influence this platform to take action against this guy, then I maintain my own convictions perfectly fine. Even if I just, if I put him on blast and I shit all over him, which I'm gonna do, I maintain those absolutist free speech convictions. But at the same time, there's nothing that's going to stop him from doing it again and again and again.
But also, I mean, think of it. I mean, so he's probably getting a few converts to the way, right? He's probably losing plenty at the same time. But in being in the mix of the more normies, does this help prevent this group from radicalizing further? What if we did boot him off Facebook? Now you're in a very insular community. The only so now GoDaddy won't even let you on. So you got to be hosted by some site in Indonesia. Like it seems like now you're really in an echo chamber. Maybe these people become violent radicals now instead of just dogpiling a poor woman on Facebook.
Right.
I mean, you got to wonder about that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
We also have to talk about like how best act on social media. I don't think we understand social media.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to criticize this guy about, obviously, but absolutely, Brian's right. I mean, one of the things we talk about a lot is how we should be behaving on social media, and professionalism is definitely missing in a lot of cases. And if this guy is having his trolls go out for him, I mean, he's no different than what Scientology does and the smear campaigns they create. But over time, I will tell you this. I mean, a lot of, the logical people, the non-fundamentals, if you will, they see through that shit. And the more they do that, the more they hurt their own cause, because people will be like, like you said, the kid's not even vaccinated. What are we talking about here? So they're making a straw man out of this situation. And the logical people will eventually see through that shit and start challenging the narrative that they're creating. So I think what you're doing when you're going to take them to task, that's brilliant. We need more people like that, depending on whatever their passion is. Stand up for what you think is right. And sometimes people are standing up for what they think is right and they're completely wrong, but it takes time and patience and education in a lot of cases to help these people. And I think right now they have their leader, but I think education is the way to really get them out of the cult mindset, if you will.
I would agree. I mean, like the example that I was saying, and it's more of like an expressing of the frustration. I absolutely do not want Larry Cook booted off of Facebook. I don't. I want Larry Cook where I can see him. I absolutely do. I would not support in any way I would not in any way support somebody removing his ability to use the platform the same as any regular individual private user. But, and this is the part that keeps fucking me up, what I keep coming back to, this is the part that messes me up, is when he takes the action to specifically invest an amount of money to try and push propaganda. Do I then consider the words of Larry Cook to still be that of a private individual, or that of somebody who is a special interest group who is actively trying to push something which I personally, whether everybody else agrees on it or not, I personally think is
dangerous. Jeff?
Yeah.
Brian, Sean, I gotta go. I have to go, guys.
All right, Bunty.
I do apologize. Hey, man, thank you for having me on. I'm sorry I didn't get to really input much. Just that, I think this is like.
But you just look good, man.
You do.
above my pay grade.
You brought the sex appeal, man. It's fine. It's good.
Thank you. I'll see you guys soon. All right, just hit me up whenever.
Later,
Much love, guys.
More of that Bunty gamer stuff that we were talking about. You got to make some more of that stuff. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
What about like the IWW though? Like that's a specifically like communism. They're promoting communism, right? I mean, so at one point, do you have to then boot that because look what that led to? I mean, isn't that worse than anti-vax? I wonder if I think you're never going to be able to draw a line.
I know.
So you just on principle, you have to get the ideas. I mean, the nice thing, if the medical community, if this was influencing the medical community, then you got to wonder like what the state of the medical community is. But I think this is just one of the downsides. I think that you got to look at the upsides of the free society, and then you got to look at some of this crap, which I think is the downsides, and then try to clean it up.
Yeah. So somebody in the chat, Mizuki Ukitake says, personally in regards to the free speech thing, Jeff, free speech with exception of endangerment. If it endorses obvious, immense, or immediate danger, free speech should not apply. Now, I believe in that. I do. But and this is the thing that's so frustrating about it is if the anti-vax movement itself does not pose an obvious, outright, immediate danger, but it poses a potential public health crisis in the future, how do we quantify that? And I feel like if I could figure that out, I could probably start to re-solidify my convictions again.
Yeah.
But I can see someone like saying this about Jordan Peterson, though.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Or
like
back
he
to religion,
presents a danger.
Well, like how many Muslim countries would say atheism promotes a danger
absolutely
to the society because we're going to lose our morals, we're going to lose all this, we're going to, and
I mean, Iran, right? That if you're not following the modesty codes, you're a threat to the public chastity.
Yeah,
whatever that is.
And I get the health question in this case, but unfortunately, fortunately, if you're not getting vaccinated, who are going to be the people that really get hurt?
Well, the immunocompromised who can't be vaccinated. Those who are at absolute deadly risk if they catch something like whooping cough or measles.
Yeah,
but so
might be able to make a public health crisis in the herd immunity cases, right? Like that would be an interesting question. Because like,
that's cases of whooping cough in Eugene right now. It's considered actually an epidemic. As per the ratio of population numbers, it is.
That would be interesting because now the 5%, like if you had the herd immunity case, could affect the 95%. Now, if it's like a vaccine like Gardasil, which is prevents against like the cervical cancer and genital,
that's different.
That's an individual thing. So that's that is someone's choice.
Well, here's a good question though that I'd like to pose to you guys then. So if one of the main factors though that we're comparing this to is something like ideology or identity or politics, that if this person has a radicalized form of speech, well, we have if whether it depends on how you feel about psychology and the nature of free will, but bypassing that for the moment, let's say an idea or an ideology or a religion is something that people are cognizantly aware of. They can see that they're being introduced to it. They can make as informed as they're capable of being informed at the time decisions based upon this, because this is something that's coming at them and they're aware of it. They're perceptually aware. Whereas disease, you don't get to control whether or not you contract a disease. You can take steps to prevent it, but ultimately that is not a choice that you are afforded on an actual perceptual level. So does that change the argument then?
Again, isn't
that a tough one?
No, it is, and it totally is, and unfortunately, you have to learn. Societies learn by the mistakes they made, but here's the counterpoint to that. So, I agree with what you're saying, but so who regulates that? So the government states now that you have to get XYZ vaccines, and if that's the case, then where does that lead to? Now, obviously the U.S. is in a lot of cases very liberal, but there are some countries out there that are insane.
Oh
So if
yeah.
you're forcing people to do certain things with their body, now that becomes a whole conversation in itself. Like those people that can't have them. Like you were mentioning, the people that just can't because they physically can't or they'll die. What if the government's like, doesn't matter, you got to do it?
Right. That I mean, that's definitely kind of like a what if situation. And it is something that's important to keep in mind. As it stands right now with mandatory vaccinations, by and large, the vast majority of it is not actually mandatory. It is compulsory with repercussions if you choose to abstain from. Like for instance, there's quite a few places in America. If you do not vaccinate your kid, they cannot go to public school. They don't get government funded education. And there's a lot of people a lot of anti-vaxxers who are very, very upset by this. They feel like this is a human rights violation in some ways. That's one of their main arguments. I don't agree. I feel like life has consequences, and our informed choices are allow for what our experiences is going to be. But it is shaky ground because I would not support an absolute state mandated vaccination program. I know a lot of people do. I do not.
Consent. I think consent to any procedure or drug is that's a big deal.
It's paramount.
Well, yeah. Well, I think too. I mean, this reminds me a lot of, you were in the 80s and 90s, right, Jeff? The AIDS scare. We had all the songs and all the things, representing AIDS. It was really, it became manageable because we are educating people through, what the consequences are, what your responsibilities are. I just think more of that needs to happen. And, as long as people are educated, I think they will make the informed choices. Yes, there's some fundies out there, no matter what, they're not going to listen. And unfortunately, they're always going to be there. And, but I think the majority of the population will listen to reason and logic and science. And, so I think, what you're doing, starting this campaign, going against this guy, that's absolutely what needs to happen. We need to have those voices going after these types of people because now you're educating the masses. And,
but if I take that one step further and I explicitly state to express, to try and motivate the public to express their displeasure at this towards a private company, that would be over the line.
Yeah, because that creates a martyr, and that's the last thing you want to do is create a martyr for for a movement that you're stating is gaining followers.
Well, it's your personal ethic that you have to ask yourself whether that's a good idea.
And it is, and it definitely, there's a reason why the petition sites exist. There's a reason why, and we've had to petition Facebook in the past to let people back on Facebook because of things they'd said, and a long time ago. But anytime you get into that where Facebook and all these other online platforms are being forced to make a moral judgment, it just bothers me so much because who knows, tomorrow you might be the one they come after.
No, I know, I totally understand that argument very well. That is something that I've been thinking about all day. I agree. Okay.
Because he might get his dogs, turn around, get his dogs on you.
Yeah. Well.
And now all of a sudden, like now you guys are in this pissing match, and you don't want to make it.
I like a good fight.
Yeah, no, for sure. But you don't want Facebook to be the arbiter.
No, I don't. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Zuckerberg came out specifically.
Something to like just having them in the mix and to keep as a hedge against radicalization. Like, I mean, think about it could be worse. And that's, I think you do see insular radicalization, the incel community. Let's make a loud noise, right? That's it. Once it goes insular, like, yeah, it sucks when you lose touch with the mainstream. I mean, it sucks when they are in touch with the mainstream because you're like, oh my God, we have to deal with these people constantly. But then you should ask yourself, like, but what if we didn't? What if they did all go away? And like, what did they come back as? Like, right. I think so. Maybe there's an upside if you look at it that way.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you, for instance, a very small sample. This drives me crazy at my company. they very conservative. And anytime there's an election coming up, they send out emails stating on who the candidates we need to vote for that would best reflect the taxes and margins for the company and blah blah blah. And that drives me absolutely insane. I mean, this again, a private company, they can do whatever they want. But when you start telling your employees who they should be voting for or what they should be doing like that outside of work, like that just drives me insane. Like I hate when companies have to take a stance on things. I really
Yeah, I
do.
agree.
I think they should be focused on their product, focus on whatever it is they're offering, and not take ideological stands on anything, because that it starts poisoning the well for a lot of people. And
Sure.
I'm afraid we're gonna have like a left wing Walmart and a right wing Walmart. Everything's like booksellers. Oh well, you publish Pearson's book, so
exactly.
now you're a conservative bookseller, and now you're a progressive. But this isn't good.
Right.
I
The market
don't
should
like
dictate.
this. I don't
Right.
like CEOs having to fly back to do all this stuff. Like they should not be taking political positions.
Yeah.
I don't like this at all.
Okay. So two things. The first one I'd say is so Facebook has come out and said that they actively want to fight against fake news. That they want to scrub against things that are objectively and observably incorrect as far as we understand them. I don't think they've actually said specifically they're doing anything about scientific consensus, but they have said that they want to crack down on fake news.
Okay.
If that is their explicit intention that they have made as a private company, which is their right to do so, then is pointing out a fake news to them. I guess that still does necessarily breach the absolutist standards of free speech. Motherfucker.
I don't know.
Because now they're forced to. Yeah,
I think
and one of
it's
the
a personal ethic. Though.
well, one of the ways I don't know if you know how they're doing it, but one of the ways that they're doing it is they're requiring anybody before they make ads on Facebook to have a U.S. residence. So they have to send you something in the mail. You have to get it from the mail, and you have to put whatever information is before you can actually create ads. So essentially, what they're doing there is they're trying to eliminate foreign influence over certain things, and obviously that has a lot to do with the Trump thing and things like that. So that's interesting.
You have to ask yourself that. Like, what if your neighbor was accused of murder and it went viral on Facebook? Could you say, "Hey, this is fake news"? I think you would call him and say, "Look, I was with this is not possible. We were bowling the whole time. Like this, I know this, right?" I mean, you wouldn't probably even think about it. So I think that there's a personal ethic of.
But I think
at what point do you do it?
Yeah, when it comes to slanderous stuff, yeah, I get that. There definitely is something there when you're actually literally lying about someone and completely fabricating facts about someone. I think that's a different thing than asking them to weigh in on, like a subject of, left versus right. You know what I mean? Like taking
but that's what left versus right always do, right? They just accuse each other of lying and distorting the facts. So I don't think you can do it there. Anti-vaxxers, you do have the medical portion. Like you might be able to take fake news from like a scientific standpoint. They may have that. From a political philosophies dueling, you can't say who's fake news.
So then maybe we discovered a loophole then. Maybe the loophole is to, rather than petition Facebook to necessarily deny the ad purchases of anti-vaxxers, but instead to aggressively petition Facebook to look into the claims of anti-vaxxers and whether or not they choose to support them on their site or not.
Or provide the counter narrative.
If you thought
and encourage them to do so, encourage them to actively try and correct the misinformation. If you want to put it on there, fine. But here is available information and resources that go counter to this. This is the scientific consensus. Would then effectively doing the same exact thing. Same thing, doing a petition, but instead of seeking to persuade a corporation to take a removal stance, but instead take a positive educational stance, would that still maintain the fundamentals of absolutist free speech?
Absolutely. I think that because now you're providing the counter argument. Now, I don't know necessarily if Facebook would do it. What they're probably going to tell you is, well, this is how you buy ads. Because they're a company. But yeah, definitely having the counter narrative there makes a lot of sense. That's I don't think that goes against free speech at all. I think now you're just providing the counter argument.
Well, I
But
guess
having Facebook sponsor it may tip the scales a little bit. So I don't know.
But you would report something like if your neighbor again wasn't a doctor and all of a sudden created a Facebook channel that was doling out medical advice, and you're like, by the way, he's not a doctor. You might want to look into this. You haven't suggested a course of action. You've just indicated, okay, I know this is fraudulent. So indicating to Facebook that this is fraudulent. Here's a pull a James Damore. Here's the relevant data set like compiled. And send it to him and say, just wanted you to know that's
in science. I think
maybe there's your personal ethic.
In science,
you're not saying remove them. You're saying
but in science, I think
you
have a better argument because science can be backed up by the scientific method and observation over years and blah blah blah. And still, people will argue against science, which is ridiculous. But like when it comes to something that's ideological, it gets harder. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't think you can. Right?
Yeah,
that's where.
Like who you should vote for. Well, you can't say, "Hey, Facebook, well, no, we shouldn't vote for this person because of boom, boom, boom." Well, no, that's more ideological. That's more opinion versus science. So I think you have a case with science. You can say, this is what the scientific.
Just don't advocate for removal. I mean,
don't advocate for removal.
Right. But you're just saying, hey, by the way, check it out.
Here are the stats.
Like you're not. Yeah. Well, right. You're not advocating. Like who knows? Maybe I suspect there's probably a lot better solution than removal. I don't know what it is.
I don't really know what it is either.
The nice thing you can do with Facebook and a lot of the platforms is if you create that counter argument, what you can actually do is target those people that they're targeting and force them to see the other side. Now, are they going to click on it? I don't know, but those that are kind of,
I don't have $10,000.
Yeah. I know, but that's something you work with, like a Bill Nye or someone that will see benefit in this that would back this type of campaign. I think you can find a lot of scientists out there that would definitely find value in this. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying anybody. Anybody could. So if it's truly your passion, you can find those partners and say, look, this is what's happening. This is my strategy. Back this thing, and then now you're getting in their face.
And I think science is
that's a really good
is kind of a universally agreed upon, and that this is why the universities becoming ideological to a degree is so disheartening, because this is the place where reason and science are promoted. This is where it's practiced. This is where you have that debate. When the universities become political, I mean. It's you're like, wow, science may go with it, and that would be a big loss.
Yeah,
I've got three social justice classes in order for me to finish my biology bachelor's. Fascinating shit. Yeah, all ideologically charged. Okay, so the last thing though that I kind of want to bring up here, it's just something that I've been thinking about quite a bit as we've been talking about, because I kind of had in mind that there is a bit of a way to go about this without necessarily calling for removal. I had it in the back of my mind, but the reason why I didn't bring it to the forthright is because there's this complication inside of me which says, because I'm a very pragmatic person. I am an extremely pragmatic person. I want to see accomplishments. I want to see the end goal. I want to make sure that I reach that place. So my position as a free speech absolutist is, in some ways it's because I do feel it deep in my soul, but in other ways it's because it is the right thing to do, not just necessarily ethically, but also marketingly. It is, to be honest with you. It honestly is. If I can maintain that conviction, that conviction is maintained in the public space, then that is a net benefit to me. But the thing that drives me crazy is, and I'm wondering if this is something, if you feel the same way that I do, is if my net objective goal is to put a giant fucking light on Facebook and say, You need to address the fact that this person is targeting millions of fucking parents with pictures and stories of dead kids to try and get them to not vaccinate. If that is my net goal, and putting pressure on Facebook, the manner in which I do it is only just for the sake of, and it feels like to me, maintaining my ability to state that I feel a certain way.
But that's not your net goal, though. Your net goal is to have people not believe like the anti-vax BS.
Sure.
That's the actual goal.
Sure.
So Facebook, like petitioning Facebook, is simply one method to possibly achieve
that's
that
one
goal.
of the tactics.
Right. So then you then you got to assess what's the best, and then two, you got to like, what's my personal ethic?
Right.
You know, sometimes the most surest way is unethical. So
that comes down to
is education.
That comes down to the big conflict that I'm having with myself right now, is that I do believe in my convictions. I do feel very strongly that my convictions are something that is a strong personality trait, and I value them. I do. But if I was to be completely honest with you, would I sacrifice my convictions to be able to stop the unnecessary suffering of another human being? Yeah. I would in a heartbeat. I would sacrifice my ability to feel comfortable with my convictions to spare the suffering of a child that didn't get a chance or a choice in the manner of these types of things. So these are the reasons why I say I'm emotionally compromised.
More, he goes, would you throw out the whole of the English law to catch the devil?
Right.
And he goes, well, I would. And then he's like, well, then with all of English law gone, who's going to protect you when the devil comes after you? So I don't know. I mean, like at some point, like that those convictions may be what you have.
I think the best case for you or anybody with whatever they're passionate about, I think there's, especially in this case, there's so much scientific data. You can easily put something together. It says, okay, just take their claims and just, give the counter argument that says, no, actually, this is the case. And, create your media around it. Obviously, you're going to be doing videos on it. That actually does reach kids in a lot of cases. YouTube actually is, as far as reaching the younger generations, a really good tool. But then also, again, looking for partners that are also passionate. And there's a lot of scientific people out there that are passionate about this. I'm sure you're going to find a whole host of support just looking at this topic and partnering with those people, creating the content that you've created, and just work together and form this partnership to go after them. I mean, this is, I understand this is a big task for one person to do, but as soon as you start partnering up with other people to provide the counter argument, I think you're going to see a lot more being done, because now you're creating an alliance of science and with the goal of protecting children who wouldn't
leading by example.
Who wouldn't be on
I think that's
that
the
side,
ethic.
and and leading by example, and not necessarily asking Facebook to take it down, but getting the funds to utilize the tool that is Facebook to target those exact people and say, look, you're being fed this is the truth. Read this. Take 2 minutes and read this for the sake of your child. Play on their emotions. This is what this guy's doing. He's playing on their emotions. It's an emotional argument. Play on their emotions too, and say, look, they're showing you dead kids. I'm going to show you dead kid. Well, not show them dead kids, but show them like show them what could happen with not doing this.
Right.
And I think you just use his tactic against them, and I think you're going to get a lot more done there. You're still playing within the ball of free speech, and he's going to, at some point, you get him to a point where he's either going to have to confront it or continue to ignore it, in which case, if he starts seeing his numbers go down and down, he's going to have to confront it at some point. Now you got him where you want him. And so I just think that is a great strategy,
Yeah, but I think you definitely don't want to throw out your principles to save the kid. I think I've thought about this more. Take the anti-vaxxers themselves, right? Don't you think like that they've got enough reach to where maybe this message gets to a kid that was severely allergic or would have been severely allergic to a medicine, and then he'd never taken it, so they never even found out. Like in that way, they've saved a life. Right now, again, but to throw out all your convictions, like to do that, that argument would actually support their existence and their entire movement. Because I'll bet you that they saved one kid. They've hurt others.
Yeah.
So.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. Honestly, to be honest, I feel a lot more comfortable now, having gotten a chance to really like vocalize this and talk about it. And you guys pointed me, I think, in the right direction. Don't focus on removal. Don't focus on aggressively pursuing like this needs to stop. Instead, maybe we need more of it. But the uphill battle that I fight is I do not possess an army that is willing to throw shitloads of money for me to be able to weaponize marketing. I have to get clever. I have to do other things. I do thankfully have a very, very large support structure that's very, very far removed from everything YouTube. So that's nice. But yeah,
Grassroots works. It works.
It really does. And that's the thing, when we did with MythCon, it was the same exact thing where it's like, if we want to, if there's something you don't like, let's talk about it. If there's something we think that's going a little crazy or whatever, let's talk about it. And you start bringing the people, those that are willing to show up to talk about it, then it gives the audience, at least both sides to say, hey. And I think in this case, you're going to find a lot of people that are willing to support this type of effort, especially when you're talking about protecting children and things, and you have the science to back it up. And in a lot of cases, like in these ideological things, these conversations, there's not this science that says, yeah, this part is right because of observation and the scientific method. So I think you definitely have a huge ally in science itself. And it's really, I just want to tell you, I mean, this is really a really awesome thing that you're doing, because a lot of people don't take the time to even worry about it to the point where you're talking about it. And this obviously is something you're passionate about and something you can positively change people's lives. And it's huge kudos to you, man. That's really, really awesome stuff. So
it's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do it in this format in specific. Is like if I I've gotten into shit fights before. I've gotten into large battles about whatever issue it was at the time. But this is a pretty large one, and if I jump with both feet into it, I need to know, and I don't want to come off with this pretentious attitude like, well, I'm coming from a place of moral superiority. No, I want to challenge the fact that my convictions are shaken. I want it to be obvious and out there in public. Like, I really had to think about this. I had to consolidate exactly how I feel before I move forward, because if anything, that lends it lends a real human element to it that isn't so far removed, because I'm just a fucking gutter punk in Oregon, trying to do this shit and doing the best that I can. So I that's why I like being open about this kind of thing. I feel like you guys really help me.
Like taking time to consider one's actions and like think about it. Yeah, if more people did that,
but it still is an honorable,
better shape.
It's a very honorable thing to do. And when we talk about social justice, a lot of times this is actual fucking social justice. I'm so sick of hearing that word. When you're actually actively trying to help people and provide tools and things to make their lives better, that's social justice, not going on Twitter and shit posting a bunch of people that you don't agree with, and so I mean, just know that this is something that is honorable, and you will find allies that will help you and support you in something that will positively affect people and impact their lives. And so yeah,
positivity instead of negativity. Build bridges rather than tear them down.
Absolutely.
Even if you got to build a bridge on top of a shitty bridge. Well, anyway, my guests tonight have been BuntyKing, had to leave a little bit early, and both Sean and Brian from Mythicist Milwaukee. I got the links to their YouTube channels as well. These guys host Mythicist Milwaukee every year in Milwaukee. The link to their website is also in the description. I don't think I'm blowing it out of proportion. I think in many ways that you guys kind of saved me from myself a little bit tonight.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we can be there for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's talking that like people need coping methods for everything, right? Like, what do I do? Do I take this job or not? Like, you need, what should I buy a new car?
The power of conversation.
Yeah, like talking things out with people that want to talk to you about that.
Yeah,
then yeah,
and that's what we're trying to. Again, that's a bad plug here, but that's what we're trying to do with MythCon, is bring up these ideological conversations and talk them out, because we think that's the only way that's going to actually move the conversation and move things into a positive direction is having the uncomfortable conversations. And yeah, so
And trying to retain an open mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, my mind's blown. Everybody, please, by all means, go check out their links in the description. Thank you guys again so very much.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. No, it was a lot of fun talking.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. We'll do it again. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night.